Immigration Policy in America: The Lives of American Immigrants by Lannon. In this presentation, I will provide an overview of the topic, policy history, where I will develop discussions of early history, contemporary history, and the major acts of legislation and executive orders in reference to such. Following policy review, I will describe some of the popular views on immigration policy along party lines, and finally, I will take a chance to question the significance policy has in the context of immigrant lives. In closing, I will convey some of my personal takeaways. To begin with an overview of the topic, immigration policy in America, I will address the reasons it is important to discuss. First and foremost, why is immigration policy history significant? When developing policy, many perspectives require attention, bringing us to the second bullet. What role do immigrants play in American society? As a nation of immigrants, it becomes important to question the ways that immigrants exist in our culture. Further, we can also notice that while the immigrant experience is unique, the same way that non-immigrants have economic, security, and humanitarian concerns, immigrant peoples do as well. Therefore, to readdress the questions, the focus of this topic, immigration policy history is significant because it portrays the attitudes and challenges both immigrants and non-immigrants have faced in American history. Moreover, immigrants have experienced many realities through American policy, policymakers having been concerned both with the lives of non-immigrant citizens and the protections that they are owed as citizens, as well as the lives of immigrants and the choice to support them in finding legal presence and choosing America to be their home. Immigrants then are concerned with migrating successfully, and after such, assimilating into American society successfully. First, addressing early policy history, remember that as a melting pot or nation of immigrants, policy did not quickly emerge. In fact, the first restrictive, not overall, but restrictive immigration law wasn't passed until 1875. Further, this law concerned the types of immigrants restricted, and reflected a policy concerned with matters such as race and nationality. The first quota-based legislation would not be passed until 1924. With this in mind, a pattern is loosely established in early immigration history, which is a preference for restricting characteristics of immigrants, not overall numbers. Additionally, this pattern also alludes to a trend in evaluating immigrants on race or nationality matters in early history. Shifting to the current policy atmosphere, two aspects dominate politics: legislation and executive orders, those of which concern primarily illegal immigration. Beginning with legislation, major acts of recent concern include the 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act and the extension of such in 1996. The 1986 bill had three major components: strengthening border control, enhancing employer responsibility to report illegal immigrants, and legalizing many immigrants residing in America before 1986 illegally. The critical extension within the latter 1996 bill included allowing employers to verify via telephone the status of immigrant workers. Even more recently, important executive orders have been the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and its extension, the Deferred Action for Parents of Americans and Lawful Permanent Residents, by the Obama administration in 2012 and 2014, and the Executive Order 13769, or the Muslim ban, by the Trump administration in 2017. DACA and DAPA together strove to protect from deportation and work authorization to those who arrived as children and had lived in the U.S. since June 15, 2007. The travel or Muslim ban prevented travel and refugee settlement in countries with large Muslim populations. These acts of legislation and executive orders received varied responses between popular party notions, as well as among immigrant individuals or advocates for such. I will discuss these responses in the following two slides. Ideology plays an important role in what types of policy is preferred. In this respect, the popular Republican and Democratic views are greatly divided. The popular Republican view appears to value restricting immigration with claims that it makes America safer, especially in regard for non-immigrant citizens. The popular Democratic view, however, does not support these claims, in favor of supporting efforts to ease immigration. In these discussions, one of the common points of conflict appears to be accountability. On the common Republican outlook, accountability is highly valued, meaning that immigrants can and should come here legally, and if they do not, they should be held accountable, which could mean some type of punishment in regard to their citizenship possibilities. On the other hand, Democrats popularly do not find extreme value in making illegal immigrants accountable, supporting the understanding that illegal immigrants may need the incentive of easy pathway for legal immigration to feel worth it at all. Taking into consideration some of the major acts of policy as of recent, and the party's support of respective types of policy, the final result is finding context. In this respect, immigrant reality is shaped by the public view in response to policy. For example, after the 1986 bill was passed, a large concern was increased discrimination. As policy shifts to support increased security and reporting responsibility, it is common for immigrants to anticipate the public will respond by seeing immigrants as threats. Additional freedoms, however, create a different response. Regardless, however, of discrimination or peace, an indisputable fact is the significance of immigrants and policy concerns. Therefore, it is also relevant that immigrants will always be impacted by political treatment, whether that is increased worry or at times confidence in their safety. In conclusion, immigration policy in America has been a rich and powerful process. While this presentation cannot begin to fully develop some of the major policy actions, it is still evident how crucial they have been, both in shaping ideology as well as changing the lives of immigrants. From initial patterns of policy preferring to restrict based on characteristics and quotas, to recent legislation becoming increasingly concerned with illegal immigration, many perspectives and realities have been the result of this evolution. Impressions that this research have made on myself are profound. Policy can go a long way to determine the public response of such issues. While immigration is a matter that many have a stance on, I find it interesting to view this assignment from a blank slate, and really delve into what the American government has done in reference to immigrant lives, and moreover, what political parties popularly believe and why. With so much of American history being impacted by the lives of immigrants, I find it continuously important to examine what attitudes and challenges have surfaced in the nation. Therefore, some of my takeaways from this project include a fuller scope of the history of immigration and a greater attention to how this history has and continues to dictate immigrant lives. I found as well that this topic is deeply rich in history and resources and can continue to be a source of my interest. Immigration history is complex. However, what I have learned is that my ability to explore these issues is not so complex, and with such, I hope to extend my analysis in my further studies when possible.